Applicant's office.
We ready to get started? Call to order, roll call.
Tony Perry here. Horn here. Good here. Cabrera here.
Gamelke here,
Jones here. Addis here.
Weatherford here, on a full board. Will you lead us, please, on the pledge? To the Father, which stands one nation. This world, receive justice for all. This has all the makings to be a pretty short meeting, I would think. So are there any deletions, additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? There is no agenda. And then, as Michaela pointed out, we did not approve the November minutes and we don't have them, so we'll approve them in the next meeting. There are no minutes for December as there was no quorum, so we didn't have a meeting. And any public comment? Anybody have any comments? Hi, Mary. Next, any unfinished business? Any new business? Oh. That brings you, Mark. Are you, or who's talking for Tava today?
Well, it's better look with this.
Mary?
Yeah, good morning. Tava's going great. We have foundation walls poured. Let's see, that's, that at this time of the year, that's a big win. So any questions?
When do you start framing?
February? Yeah,
So
yeah, soon.
Coldest month of the year. Nice.
I think we have our slab pouring early February. So, yeah. Yeah, cool.
No, it looks great. I got some good pictures of it from over at our place.
Yeah,
Yeah, while they were pouring, the trucks in there, and it was exciting to see.
it's very exciting to see the progress. Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
is that pincher light machine doing?
Oh, that's the crusher, isn't it? Is that what's crushing the rock? Yeah. Or yeah, the concrete. Gonna utilize that stuff.
You guys are renting that, correct? Like renting that?
Yeah.
How long will that take? Do they have any idea?
We're looking at by spring. Oh, for that part? Yeah.
And then how long till you start putting that rock where you're going to put it?
Yeah.
Just asking.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, pending.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
All right, so. I don't know, is it Jason? Joshua, excuse me, Joshua, do you want to help us talk about the ideas here for the micro grant?
Of course, I'm happy to talk about the ideas for the micro grant. Does everyone have the memo from our office in front of
Yes.
them?
Everybody has it. I just gave it to them this morning.
Okay, great. So for a micro grant program, there's some high level matters that the board would want to decide whenever you're looking at implementing a micro grant program. We went through at a pretty high level overview and put those issues into this memo. So we're looking at stuff like establishing the intended grant recipient, project type that would be acceptable, project status, so future, current, completed. I could read through all of them, but you obviously have it in front of you. These are the topics that we would want to discuss And basically we'll take these and put them into the actual grant program, which is going to be the other two documents you have. Those other two documents are basically the same document, except for one of them has additional comments on it, which are just to highlight some additional issues for the board members to consider, and you would answer. Once we have a fairly good idea of what the board would like to have in the program, we can provide a final draft program that you would then review and vote on. And once you decided whether or not you wanted to have the program and you voted on it, that's whenever we would implement the program. And I'm not completely aware of what any discussions or any kind of positions that anyone has, questions. I'm happy to help and answer those, or we can kind of walk through these. It's going to be up to y'all.
I have some. Yeah, quit grinning. Listen, after the last meeting, I kind of quickly went through it and I got a couple of observations or just comments. Would now be appropriate time to
Sure.
talk about that. Okay, so what we received today kind of mirrors the first part of what we received last meeting. But I'm noticing that, let's see, project status. Notify or highlighted the fact that, the look back. Can you explain what that means exactly?
Yeah, happy to. So for project status, it's going to depend. The look back would only be relevant if the board decided that it wanted to allow for members to participate that have already completed projects. So for example, if a owner or business tenant in the DDA had finished a project, 4 or 5 months ago that cost them, $10,000, $15,000, whether or not they were able to apply would be the first decision that the board would have to make. So could that person actually apply to get a grant to help them recover costs for the improvement that they made? And if you are going to say, yes, we do want people who have completed projects within the past to be able to receive grant funds, you would then have to do that decision of a look back. How far back will you allow that to go? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it 2 months? And that's basically I guess first you have to ask, why would the board even, or the authority even want to allow for people to recover costs that they've occurred within the past couple months? It would be because they didn't even know a grant program was about to happen. And if they had just waited a couple months, all of a sudden they could have applied and received the grant. That can become a little bit tricky, slippery slope, as we like to say, which is why you would have that look back period. That'd be a very set date on how far back you would go.
Well,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, it does. Yeah, I just, my comment would be that we would want to discuss that pretty good. I think it's opening a can of worms,
My comment would be like, no.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down here.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had that comment and then, the, number 5 award, and that's indicating, that you would designate 1 or 2 people to represent the board on making the decisions for this, which I'd like to point out that we just already determined that shouldn't be the way the board is operated. With the design review and all, it should be a complete, board decision. That's.
Yeah. And I would like to just jump in, and this doesn't say that you would have one or two people making a decision. The way that the memo is drafted is basically award decision makers, and the underneath notes or points are going to be basically your options of how you would go about it. So for one example, for this one, for decision makers, it could be by a vote of the board. So basically the board could look at every single application and then the board would vote on it. Another option would be to have a committee, and it could be 3 board members, it could be 4 board members, but basically that committee would review the applications. And if an application met all of the qualifications, it could then make a recommendation to the board as a whole for the whole board to vote on it. What that does is it allows for applications to be submitted, have a few people look at it, determine whether or not it meets all of the qualifications of an application before it gets to the board. That way, if you have, 20 applications that are submitted, instead of the board looking at all 20 and deciding whether or not they're complete, and whether or not it's going to vote yes or no, the committee would look at them and say, okay, out of these 20, 16 are complete, and we recommend approval on those. Those would go to the board for a full vote. So it's really just a way of controlling the application flow versus a final decision. Now, again, the board can decide to do a committee, it can decide to do full board. It's completely up to you all. Again, these are just options that are available.
Thank you. And then let's see on, you're talking about on D, number 5D, the method of determining grant amount per recipient. And so you're suggesting that we actually have a higher amount than 5,000? Okay.
This is just,
So,
this was just pulled, go ahead, Joshua.
oh, sorry about that. I was going to say that was an option that Marcus put in there. And I personally don't know if I would go for the higher one. It does become a little bit more subjective. I'm personally a big fan of objective criteria when it comes to grant programs because it makes it very clean and clear to all applicants who can and who can't receive awards and the amount that they can receive. But this is definitely a discussion that the board would need to have.
That certainly makes sense to me. All right, okay, thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Jerry. Anybody else have any questions? Suggestions? So I'm asking that you guys would take this, all of us would take this and look at it. And if you have any questions, you can email me, you can call me, we can talk about it, or you can bring them to the next meeting. But at the next meeting, I would like to have something in place so that by March, we can start allowing people to apply for this grant. That's the goal. Please, that's the goal. So, and I don't hear a lot of, go ahead, Al.
I've only had a chance to read and look at a couple of pages of the handout today, but I saw one typo error. Do we want to bring that up now or
Sure.
later?
We could bring it up later when we
Okay, because we do need to change some wording.
okay,
Yeah. It's a technical thing,
okay, thanks for catching it.
but later,
Sure.
okay.
How about when we approve it next month?
We need to make it in the final document.
Yes.
Actually.
Right, well, we'll do I guess my idea is that we would have the idea of what the final document is gonna look like at our next meeting.
Okay.
And then in March, we would vote for it
Then vote
and
for it.
vote it in.
Okay,
Does that sound,
sure,
Right.
that'll work.
does that sound right, Joshua?
So I was going to ask if the board would, does the board believe that it would be beneficial to have a work session on these different points for a grant program? And then that way, we could discuss through the points more, and at the next meeting, you would then have a actual prepared draft of the grant program in front of you to vote on? Or would you rather just have that discussion at the next meeting?
So the thing is, but we're suggesting a March deadline, right? For
We're
the
trying
first
for
round,
March, yeah.
but that's the deadline.
That's what we're suggesting. We've
Yeah,
been
so
dragging it
we-
on for,
Right, so we should have this completed well in advance of that. That's my thought, because if you're gonna post that, you're gonna start accepting applications for the grant. And the deadline is March 7th, then you would want the criteria and any of the wordsmithing done well in advance of that.
Of the next meeting, February.
Huh?
So that way you can vote in February and implement the program, open up the program for applications to be filed by the deadline of March. And that's just a soft deadline at this moment. We can always, create a new deadline.
Mhm.
that being said, Al, do you want to go ahead and say what you have to say about the changes that need to be made? Should we have a meeting now and discuss this, or should we have a separate work session? What do people think? You know, people's time has value, so I don't know where everybody's at with this.
It's not a change in an idea, it's just a technical.
Okay,
Ready for it?
sure.
Okay, page 2, down at the bottom.
Sorry, real quick, are we on the document that says Woodland Park at the top, or the document that says MGM at the top?
It's the micro grant program.
Yeah, this.
I can't see that, I'm so sorry.
It says Woodland Park at the top.
Perfect, thank you, thank you.
Down at the bottom, application eligibility, the third bullet point. The Teller County Treasurer does not impose property taxes. They collect them
Yes.
only.
Right.
Board of County Commissioners imposes.
Yeah, so that can be just stricken. Because they will not
Correct.
prove they're current on all property taxes.
Yeah. That's all that I've caught so far.
Yeah, so it'd just be the last part and the hyphen
Yeah.
that would just be taken out.
John, I would suggest that you do a work session where the board has a chance to thoroughly review this and to come in prepared to just dial in, make decisions, get to the final document. So I don't think, it doesn't appear the board's ready today, because I'm
No.
assuming not everyone's gotten
Right.
through everything.
Right, it'd be too.
Except Jerry. Jerry went through.
And I would be happy to attend in person the work session, so that way I can be there to quickly provide any answers or comments on the program.
Anybody have any, should we do another morning meeting? And should we do it is 2 weeks to give people 2 weeks to go through this? Is that too long or too soon, or a week or 3 weeks, or any suggestions?
I think to George's point, that we need to give people time to prepare applications if we're gonna try to hold these.
Oh, I understand that we should have a meeting. I'm just trying to work out when we should have
Yeah,
a work
I
session.
think 2 weeks is fine.
Aaron, do we know on your suggestion, please?
I'm checking to see if the room is available, but
Okay.
I believe it is on the 22nd. I'm sorry, the 21st, whoops. It looks like either one of those mornings would be available in this room.
What is the, I don't have my calendar in front.
That's Tuesday or Wednesday, that would be the 4th Wednesday or the 3rd Tuesday of the month.
The dates.
Third Tuesday.
Third Tuesday? Does a third Tuesday sound, that's 2 weeks from today?
Yeah.
Does that sound good to everybody? Do I need to take a vote on that? No, consensus is, see a bunch of up and down. All right. Great, thank you so much.
So I think it's important, we've got a few pieces to decide, right? We have we have the look back. We have the decision-making, who's gonna do this decision-making. I think Jerry was indicating it should be a full board.
Yeah.
And then we have and I think the more difficult part is the objective criteria. We don't want to be subjective. I don't think we don't want to go down that path. But what that criteria is, I think is pretty key right now. So,
You mean as far as the scope of the project criteria?
or whatever, yeah, this objective criteria that says, here's how we're gonna decide.
Oh, I
Right.
got you.
Yeah, right. So I think it seems to be threefold things that we need to consider, that we all need to pay attention to over the next 2 weeks. The look back period, who's gonna decide this? Full board probably, and then what that criteria is, that objective criteria. Other than that, I think the structure of the program is fairly simple.
Yeah, George, just comment about that. As I was reading it, and I'm trying to remember from last month, there was a lot of detailed structure and checking and inspecting this and that and criteria to get the loan or the grant. It just seemed a little too over the top in that regard to me. You know, instead of just, you meet the criteria for it, here it is, we're not gonna inspect it and and do all that. I think we'll be in bureaucracy. How do you say it? Bureaucracy.
Yeah, you're
A mess, so.
Yeah, but I don't want to also just have, I think we do want to check it, and I think we do want to make sure that the work is done as people say.
Well, to a point, but we don't
To
want
the
to,
point is like seeing it done.
we don't, it's a micro grant, but we don't want to micro grant manage. You know, I would.
Well, I don't want to be like the federal government and just give them an open ticket and they do whatever they want with it either.
Yeah,
Just saying, sorry,
Okay.
that's just me talking.
Yeah.
I think we do need to have some checks and
Yes.
balances, and that's why we're asking Marcus and his firm to help us so that we can keep it above board and
Yeah.
legit. And I do understand what you're saying. I want people to have freedom, but I also want them to have the freedom to complete what they said they're going to complete with the micro grant and not. Do you understand what I'm saying, Jerry?
Yeah, I do, but it's not about them so much as it is our oversight. I mean, we'll just be over the top with, did you inspect the property? Did they actually follow dot every T and every I and cross
Hmm.
every T type deal?
Well,
But anyway,
I
it's,
think it'd be good to bring it up at
yeah,
our work session.
Yeah.
We can iron that out. Is that okay, Jerry?
oh, yeah.
Do, do you guys, I know it's a little bit out of order, but do you guys have anything to add? You and I can meet, that'd be great. Aaron, do you have anything to add after looking at this? We have asked Marcus and his firm to help us with this because, you know, we want to keep it above board. We want to keep it clean. We don't want to show any nepotism or favoritism, right? We don't want to appear to show we don't want any of that. We don't want the appearance of that either. We're doing our best to keep it legit. Are we
Hey,
done?
John, just to confirm, so it's gonna be the morning, Tuesday, the 21st for our work
Yes.
session?
Yes, can you make that?
Yes, sir.
And will that be in person?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll need to have notice sent out in advance like we do with the monthly meeting.
We need advance notice.
So we have to post it.
Yep.
Correct.
Thank you. And that will be at 7:30? That means you have to leave Denver at about 6, right?
Yes, I believe so, but that's no problem.
Okay.
I hope. Hope there's no storm or anything.
Right, right. Are we done with that discussion for now? Do you have any? Okay. All right, any public comments regarding new business? Got anything? Nothing? Nothing? All right, so as you know, as you all know, we did not have a quorum last month, and I know it was December, and I know a lot of people were traveling and moving. And it would have, we just asked that, and again, I talked to the lawyer because I didn't want to say anything or do anything wrong here. We just asked that people would let us know in advance when they're not coming, because there was a handful of us, including the staff, that did show up, and then we couldn't have a meeting. And so just out of respect for all the people that are involved, I just asked if you're not going to come, that you would give us some advance, because we could have canceled that meeting. That's all. That's really all I got. And it's in we gave everybody the Woodland Park Downtown Development Authority. We have the amended and restated bylaws, which were amended on February 7th of 23. So most of the members were here. And as people came onto the board, we have given them this. And if you go to section 7 of that, it says removal for cause. And we certainly don't want to do this, but it does say if a board member has 3 unexcused absences within a 12-month period, that member's position on the board shall be declared vacant. A board member shall have an excused absence by notifying either the chair or the secretary of the board prior to the meeting. A board member may be removed by the city council for cause after notice and an opportunity to be heard. So we certainly don't want to do anything like that, but we just asked out of respect for everybody's time, that everybody's time has value and it's equal value. Nobody's time has more value than anybody else's, that you would just let us know. That's all. Simple. Simple. Including myself. So I had one meeting where I totally forgot last year. So I get it. It happens. But if we could just let each other know, that'd be great. And that's all I've really got on that. There you go.
Treasurer report?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we did not have, excuse me, a meeting in December, but from November, the city did make 2 TIF payments to Woodland Park Associates, AKA Trail Ridge Apartments. As you recall, one was the original calculated TIF agreement for this year, which was appropriate, and then when the attorneys reviewed, we asked the attorneys to review the TIF agreements and make sure it was synchronized with the spreadsheet that the city and DDA has been using forever. And we did find a discrepancy, and Trail Ridge was owed another 25 basis points. So they received 2 checks in December. And then we also paid the attorney invoice, and that's all. So there's nothing to report for this meeting, but just wanted to reiterate what happened in November. The other thing is that several years ago, when I was chair and became chair of the DDA, and we contemplated Woodland Station, I went on the record and basically said that, being a bank, we actually fund projects in Woodland Park, quite a few, and in Tulare County, that if the bank were ever to participate in business lending within Woodland Station, that I would resign. So we have not done any lending as of today, but over the last couple of months, it has emerged that we will be participating, we believe. We'll let you know in the next month or so, or next couple of weeks. So to that end, even though the attorneys do not believe, I do not believe it's a conflict of interest, I do what I say I'm gonna do, and I said I would resign if the bank participated in funding a Woodland Station. So as of today, I am tendering my resignation. So it's been a privilege and a pleasure to serve the board. The last several years, I think this entire body, even dissenting voices, I think we've done a great job for the community, a great service to the business district, and I think we have established protocol, and as Mr. Good said, he is correct. You know, we've established a precedent that everything that we're doing is above board and out in the open, and there's no executive sessions. And so I support Mr. Good's position that with this micro grant program, that those decisions be made in the public. And I also agree with Mr. Jones that we can make some objective criteria that are checklisted. And as long as they meet those checklists, and to Mr. Good's perspective, we validate that they did what they said they were going to do, because we are responsible for those monies without undue bureaucracy. I think, continuing that precedent is very good, and I am confident that, some other business citizens will step up and keep the ball moving forward. And I believe the board is in great hands, Mr. Gamelke. And anyway, it's been a pleasure and a privilege, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah.
Al?
With that, as the basis of this discussion, I also serve on the Park State Bank Board of Trustees. I'm a voting member. I'm also on the Executive Loan Committee, of which I have a vote. Could this be a problem?
Joshua, are you still there?
Yes, sir. I don't see, if you have a vote, I don't see that there's going to be an issue, but it's something that we can definitely discuss. Probably best if we discuss it at the work session. More of a one-on-one, so you can give me an idea of exactly, what your positions are, what you hold, what your authority is, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, just for context, Mr. Bourne, we did have a discussion with Mr. McCaskill on this point, and again, I believe technically there's not a conflict of interest, but again, I said I would resign if we ever did anything at Woodland Station, and that's why I'm resigning. And so, and appearance matters as well. So anyway, but I think it's a good thing to explore for yourself.
And certainly, I am willing to do whatever the board directs in the scope of transparency and full disclosure.
Thank you, Al. Well, that was a heck of a treasurer's report. Thanks for that, Tony.
You're welcome.
Arden, this might be where you would have some questions about for board member.
Yeah, I did have a couple of questions today for the city manager.
Oh, excuse, does somebody have something? Microphone?
I did have a couple of questions today for the city manager, just if we could get an update on the Bergstrom Park consultant, if that's been where that stands, and then also the condemnation proceedings we had talked about.
Yes, so the Bergstrom Park, we have entered into negotiations with the contract for the consultant for Bergstrom Park. We had to do an addendum for the parking study. So we were kind of hashing out quite a bit because it was very expensive. So we were paring it down quite a bit, but we have entered the contract. We should start to see later this month some activity with that. getting meetings scheduled and all of that. As far as the Voss building, our attorneys are drafting a memo for us that they have not delivered yet. So as soon as we get that, we'll know the next steps. But at this point, there's been no activity.
Okay, well, TikTok. Thank you.
Next is the city's attorney's report. Do you have anything? No city attorney. All right.
I believe it's probably the authority's attorney, so it'd be our office.
Okay,
And I don't necessarily have anything additional to report, but I just did want to reiterate that for the work session, I'm really going to be looking for direction from the board. So we'll have discussions, you'll have discussions between you, but you'll be directing me in our office on what you want us to draft as the grant program. So that way I can provide it to you, circulate it before your next meeting, which during that meeting, you'll have open discussions on what the grant program is as drafted, and then go to a vote on it. But just keep in mind, whenever we're at the work session, which is open to the public, anyone's going to be able to be there to listen in as well. The points that we have in the MGM memo that's in front of you, number 1, 2, 3, 4, those are what we're really going to be looking for direction from you on. So as long as you're all prepared to discuss and provide that direction during the work session, I think it's going to be really beneficial and productive. And I look forward to meeting all of you in person.
thank you, Joshua. Anybody else? Do you have anything, Jerry? I see.
Well, yeah, I guess, in, comment to Arden's comment about the condemnation of the Voss, building and all. There's been a couple of, interesting newspaper articles out, and talking about, Mrs. Voss and her relationship with the community and just what and there's a lot of significance that I guess I wasn't totally aware of in that building. It's got a lot of history here. And so I would just ask that we don't we take that seriously, and we may being heavy-handed and coming in and knocking down buildings and stuff like that should be given a lot of forethought. Now, I know that the decision's already been made and everything. I'm just pointing out that, there's a lot of history there, and I think we should respect that as community members. So just my comment.
Tony?
Yeah, so I guess I'll add a little color. I agree with Jerry. The building does have a lot of history. I do a lot of work with Steve Plute, who is a local historian, and he's done a great little piece on it. I did meet with Steve Plute and Linda Allred, and she's on the HPE, whatever, historical committee. And basically, I provided them the owner's contact information because Jerry, for 2.5 years, they've been completely non-responsive. I suggested to them several avenues they might want to think about. I think the city moving forward with the condemnation process hopefully put some pressure on, because they can solve this if they would step up and come to the table. But we did provide the owner's contact information to Mr. Plute, Ms. Allred, and suggested that they try to get the owner to respond. And beyond that, I don't know what this board can do or the city can do. I did confirm, I talked to a insurance company that went in prior to all this mess to do an inspection for insuring the building. And there's at least 10 reasons why they wouldn't insure the building. So let's keep everything in perspective, and I'm 100% on private property rights. This process shouldn't be done lightly. It hasn't been done lightly. We've been talking to them for several years. I've had at least 6 meetings with the owner in person or over the phone. And I don't know what the problem is, but hopefully Steve and Linda can find a solution. But given the numbers and what I think I know about the building, I think it's gonna be a hard lift to overcome. So just for more information.
Thank
I
you.
do also want to say the city has not made a decision on the Voss building. We are waiting for legal guidance before council even weighs in, so there has been no decision made. Just to respond to Mr. Good.
Anything else on that? Do you have anything else, Jay, on that?
No, there's something I was gonna gripe about, but I can't remember what it was.
I look forward to hearing it. Jay.
Yeah, I bet you do.
I appreciate that input. And it's not something we're taking lightly. I'll tell you that Fox 21 camera shines in that building every day, and they have since turned it because it's kind of an ugly. No offense to any, I'm just saying, if it were my building, I'd say it was ugly. I'm not putting anybody down. I'm just saying it's unsightly. And we've noticed that Fox 21 has turned it from that building now,
Mhm.
because it was just directly on it. So it's not I don't think it's the flavor that when people say, oh, let's go see, why would we go? Is that what they represent? Is that the building that represents Woodland Park? At least on Fox 21 it was.
Well, you know, and I suggested to them that if they could work out something with the owner and come up with the funds to fix the outward appearance.
Yes,
Do I believe they'll actually ever be able to open it and do anything in it? No. I don't think that with current building code and all the things we know that's wrong with the building, I don't think they're gonna be able to overcome that. But theoretically, they could spruce it up and make it look pretty from the outside, and it could just be a monument to Miss Voss without anything happening in it.
and on that thought, I've thought they can apply for the micro grant and we could approve or disapprove, but they could certainly apply for that. And I could see where $5,000 could fix it up and make it look a lot nicer than it does now.
I bet you they don't respond.
But it is
Their
there for
history
them
would
to
show
respond.
that they won't even respond.
Yeah, well, what about a public bathroom spot? You know, that's dear to my heart here.
The entire
yes.
plumbing needs to be replaced, the electricity replaced, the walls need to be replaced, the roof needs to be replaced. The
also
windows
might-
need to be replaced.
It might make a nice visitor center too.
That little building you've got in the front of your place, all with the glass windows, that make a little nice visiting center too.
Yeah, there you go. Bathroom.
No.
Accepting donations. Does anybody have anything else? Thank you, everybody, for showing up on this snowy day. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. It's nice to see everybody. I'm
Move to
hoping,
adjourn.
move to adjourn. I second. Done.
Go play.